This is John Rollins, and I'm trying to go live here using my camera. Let's see what's happening here. It looked like it went out, but I think I got it back. Today is Wednesday, and it is time for our S.T.R.I.V.E session, strategies to remain informed, strategies to remain victorious, strategies to remain empowered. I trust that you had an amazing week from the last time that we were together, that this week has started out well for you, and that you have every expectation that things will continue to go great. We don't want to just go well. We want it to exceed well. So I hope that everything goes great for you. This is Wednesday in our S.T.R.I.V.E session. You know, as we've said so many times, we're here to try to uplift the body of Christ. Those of you who are believers, those of you who have decided to make Jesus Lord of your lives. And I try to remember that if you are not a believer, that I want you to understand that that's an easy decision for you. You can choose to repent of your sins and ask Jesus to come into your heart, forgive you, and he will do that. That's what he promises in his word. So we just want to go ahead and make sure that you all are aware of that it's an option for you. Our topic for tonight is you were not until you were. And I can imagine that you say, John, why are you speaking in riddles? Why don't you just speak in plain language so that we'll know what you're talking about? You were not until you were. Obviously, you were not. Well, that's true. So let's talk about it a little bit. Lao Tzu says that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. And I believe that for many of us, we've probably heard that statement before or something similar to it. How many of us have said that there was something that I wanted to be, something that I want to do, something that I want to have? Maybe say one day I'm going to be an entrepreneur. One day I'm going to be a husband or a wife or a spouse. One day I'm going to be, or you maybe say something like, well, as soon as I do this, I'm going to, and then you fill in the blank. Or when I get, or when I become, or when I have, I'm gonna be just like, okay. And so what we do is we put it off until another time. And you may have heard me say this in a previous S.T.R.I.V.E session, that where I talked about it when, not if, when I'm doing my sessions, I will have available as one of my products my own calendar. You know, guys, you all know that I try to do, well, I can't say I try. I conduct trainings. I try to do motivational sessions, try to inspire people. And one of my sessions, I will have my own calendar. And you have the calendar that has Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Well, on my calendar, my weeks are going to look like this. They'll be labeled one day, someday, another day, any day, and my favorite will be today. And then I'll leave 2 blank spaces on the calendar, and each person will get to write in their own days. One of those I hope they'll write in will be a good day. The other I hope they'll write in will be a bad day, because sometimes things don't go the way that we want, and we can label it a bad day. I don't encourage you to do that, but I just deal with reality. All right. Now, you're probably not going to find those calendars in the Office Depot or Office Max in a place like that until they pick them up from my line of products. But if you did create that calendar, imagine what your personal or your team planning sessions would look like. Okay, you're sitting in a meeting and you ask the project leader, so by when do you think we're going to have this project completed? And you may have an uninitiated member of your team, somebody who probably will soon be given an opportunity to be employed elsewhere. They'll say something like this: well, I don't know. I guess we should be able to look for it any day now. And because you have my calendar, you can tell them, oh, okay, so according to our calendar, that means that we're going to have it in about 72 hours, because in 72 hours from now, it says any day. Okay, and then you tell them, okay, I like that. And so what's next on the agenda? You go to the next thing. Or maybe you're having a conversation with your spouse. The spouse who's been trying to get you to eat healthy or to take on a better lifestyle for what seems like eternity. And so one day you guys are sitting down and you're watching a movie or whatever, and you look over and you say, I've been seriously considering cutting down on the amount of sodas that I drink. Okay, and I'm just making an example. I drink sodas. I like water, but I drink sodas. Okay, but maybe it's not sodas for you. Maybe you say I'm going to cut down on my fried foods. I'm going to cut down on whatever. And their response is, okay, that sounds great. I've been trying to get you to do that forever. So when will this begin? And you look at them and you say, I don't know, but it will be one day soon. And your spouse looks at the calendar, goes to the refrigerator, sees the calendar in the refrigerator, and circles one day that's 2 weeks from tomorrow, 2 weeks from next week, one day. All right. So you kind of see where we're going with that. All right. So how often, because we are always putting things off, and many times we're waiting for something to occur in our life. But how often do you give thoughts to the things that you've already accomplished, the things that you've already made happen in your life? Okay. And I say that because I want you to remember that where you are now is not where you were last week, last month, last year. You've progressed. Okay. And what happens is, for some of us, we're so goal oriented, we're so task oriented, task focused, that our tendency is to move from one goal to the other, keep our heads down, and we're just working, working, working. And sometimes we get so focused on where we're going, we don't give consideration to how far we've come. Okay. And many times in goal setting sessions, they tell you that you want to have an overarching goal, and then you want to have a 10-year goal and a 5-year goal, a 3-year goal, a 1-year goal, a 6-month, a 90-day, a 30-day goals. And they tell you to have goals, goals, goals. And because we're so driven on accomplishing our goals, that we forget, we don't always enjoy the journey, and we don't always celebrate. We don't take time to celebrate the things that we have accomplished. And so this is what I want you to understand. Where have you experienced success in the past? Okay. Do you realize that the area that you now consider it second nature, at one time for you, that was a major struggle for you? Okay? There was a time in your life when you were unable to lay claim to the victories that you now experience. There was a time in your life when you were telling people, I don't think I can do it. I don't believe I can do it. I don't know if this is for me. I know that other people accelerate, or they celebrate, they have accomplishments in their lives, but I don't know if that's my story. And you look out, and I'm telling you that, yeah, there was a time when you did not have this victory, but now you do. Okay. Think about it. Before you were able to walk, you scooted around, you rolled on the floor, you crawled around. Okay. There was a time that you were not a walker until you stood up and you took those steps and you stumbled across the floor, and everybody celebrated you. Okay. Before you completed first grade, you spent years in childcare, pre-K, kindergarten. And in fact, you spent several months in first grade until you became a completer. There was a time when you didn't know how to count to 10. There was a time when you didn't say your alphabet. There was a time when you couldn't tie your shoes. You couldn't dress yourself. Before you were able to do it, there was a time when you were not. Okay? You were not until you were. Before you were able to kick a ball, hit the ball, ride a bike, drive a car, play the instrument, bake that award-winning dessert. There was a time when you had to do it for the very first time. You saw a picture, you saw someone else doing it, you imagined what it would be like, and you took the very first time and you tried it. And if you were like a lot of people, you probably didn't do it as well as you like. I think about my son. My daughter took years to learn to ride the bike. Okay, we had her training wheels, and she would go around and she would ride, and we had it with the training wheels. And I remember so clearly that when I decided to take the wheels off of the bike for my son, the very first time I took the training wheels off, he took off. and he rode down the street around the cul-de-sac. He could ride. He didn't know how to stop. But the very first time he took off riding. Now that's not the case for most of us. Most of us, when we start out, we ride take a few steps and we'll fall down. Somebody's running behind us. Okay, so but there was a first time. There was a time when you could not do it. You were not a high school or a college graduate until you completed the requirements. But once you did, you were a graduate. You were not always employed. But one day you looked out, you saw this job, there was an ad that was run, you applied for the ad, you interviewed for the position, and the next thing you knew, you were employed. Okay, maybe you discovered that you had a unique set of skills that you thought could serve the masses, that you could serve a large number of people based on the skills that you had. And so you decided, or someone came in and introduced you to an idea of starting your own business. Okay, you knew you had the skills, you knew you had the passion for it. And so you said, okay, I'm going to do it. Okay, but then you found out that you need to take some classes. You found out you had forms to fill out. There were obligations that you would meet. The journey seemed to you like it was a daunting task. Okay, but you were determined. So what you did is you created a list. You wrote down all the things that you thought that you would need to do so that you can get to the place where you want to be. You can have the things that you want to have. You can do the thing that was in your heart to do. And one by one, you started crossing those things off. You worked tirelessly on that list. You accomplished one thing, you crossed it off. You accomplished one thing, you crossed. You kept going until the next thing you knew, you were preparing for your grand opening. Okay. Now, if you were fortunate, you had some people along the way who believed in you. Maybe it was a family member, a parent, or a sibling. Maybe it was a spouse, a best friend, a mentor, a coach, a teacher. Maybe you had someone who came along and encouraged you. And maybe they supported you with their words, with their votes, with their finances. Okay. But maybe if you were fortunate, you had someone. And then again, maybe you weren't. Maybe you weren't as fortunate. Maybe you had no one to come and to help you out. Maybe you had to do this all on your own. No one was there to watch the children for you. Yeah, you worked that job, and then you came home and you got a few hours of sleep. You woke up, you took care of the children, you took care of the other duties around the house, the other responsibilities, and then you began studying. Or you went to that second job and you just stuck with it. You slept for a few hours and you get up and you do it. And you repeated it week after week. Okay, and it may have taken you longer than you originally planned. Okay, and for someone else, maybe they went through and it was a breeze for them and you struggled the entire way. But guess what? You did it. Okay, there was a time when you were not, and now you are, you were. Okay, I've come to understand that success leaves a trail of the clearly distinguishable prints. And they can be discovered by anyone who has an eye that's been trained to find them. Every person experiences success. So where do you look? Where do you look to find success for you? Okay, our focus should be on learning to identify and celebrate the little successful ventures that we have from our past. And then we teach ourselves to make those habits, on the things that work for us. We turn those into habits. And once we created good habits, we learn to transfer those skills that work for us in one area of our life to another area of our life. It's what we call transferable skills. If it worked for me, if this discipline worked for me and allowed me to succeed in one area, then I probably can apply it and have success in another area. There's a poem that I found, okay, and we're talking about you were not until you were. You followed the path. You stayed on track. Paul says, I finished my course. You kept doing it. Okay, I found this poem, and I think it will help us to wrap up our time for the day. And the author of this poem is the famous Unknown. It says, I've found today. I shut the door on yesterday, its sorrows and mistakes. I've locked within its gloomy walls past failures and heartaches. And now I throw the key away to seek another room and furnish it with hope and smiles in every springtime bloom. No thought shall enter this abode that has a hint of pain. worry, malice, and distrust shall never therein reign. I shut the door on yesterday and thrown the key away. The future holds no doubt for me, since I have found today. Someone said for things to change, we have to change. In fact, someone else said that there is no change until there is a change. I say you were not until you were. Today you are. And tomorrow, guess what? If we stick with it, tomorrow, the things that we did not accomplish on the day, they'll be waiting for us tomorrow. We can go out and do them then. All right. I hope that helps someone. This is John with the S.T.R.I.V.E session. Strategies to remain informed. Strategies to remain victorious. Strategies to remain empowered. I want to thank those of you who shared your concern, your comments for us regarding what happened with our family. I want you to know that we were taken care of, and as I said before, I want you to keep praying for the individuals, the occupants of the other vehicle. My heart goes out for them. The situation could have been a whole lot different. So I thank God, I thank the Lord that it was not as bad as it could have been, and I appreciate your prayers and your concerns. All right. If you've not had someone to come into your life this past week to tell you just how awesome you are, to remind you that without you, their world would not be the same, to affirm your greatness, okay, I welcome the opportunity to tell you that not only today, but tomorrow and forever. You see it, I have it on my shirt right here. You see it, I have it on my wristband here. You are important. All right. God bless you all, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Bye.